Welcome to Justice Insight Cam. We feature genuine bodycam footage highlighting complex police encounters. Our goal is to look beyond the screen, analyzing the legal framework, factual events, and educational value of every interaction. Let's discover the truth behind the badge.
Ma'am, step away from the gate. This is private property.
I know, it's my property. I'm just trying to get in.
I got a call about someone trying to break in. I'll need you to step back.
I'm using my key card. I live here.
I don't need to know who you are. Just step away now.
Is it because I'm not white? I'm Assistant Attorney General Lewis. That's my house. Here's my badge.
The evening of October 14th began like any other Friday for Diana Lawson. She left the California Attorney General's office in downtown Sacramento at 7:32 p.m., drained after reviewing evidence in a police corruption case. The late autumn sun had already disappeared, leaving the city washed in streetlight. Diana wanted nothing more than to get home, have dinner with her 8-year-old daughter, Maya, and unwind with a glass of wine and a book. What Diana did not know was that officers Kevin Brennan and Tyler Chase from the Sacramento Police Department were about to turn her quiet Friday evening into a nightmare that would shake California law enforcement to its core. These two officers had no clue that the woman approaching the electronic gate of her gated community was not a burglary suspect. She was someone who had prosecuted 127 felony cases in her career, sent 34 criminals to state prison, and personally put 6 corrupt police officers behind bars. She had just spent the past 3 months drafting legislation that would fundamentally change how police misconduct was investigated in California. Over the next 51 minutes, Brennan and Chase would make a chain of decisions so catastrophically wrong, so plainly rooted in racial bias, that it would result in federal criminal charges, a 12-year prison sentence, the largest settlement in Sacramento's history, the resignation of the city's police chief, and an FBI investigation exposing decades of civil rights violations. Before we get into the details of what happened that night, I want you to do me a favor. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from. Your city, your state, your country. I want to know where our community is. And if you believe that justice means holding everyone accountable, no matter what badge they wear, hit that subscribe button right now. This story is going to take you through twists that will leave you speechless, and you need to see how this ends. Diana Lawson's story began in Compton, California, during one of the most violent periods in that city's history. Her father was killed in a drive-by shooting when Diana was 7 years old. Random gang violence. Her mother, Patricia, raised 3 children alone on a nurse's aide salary, working double shifts to keep the lights on. Patricia Lawson had an unshakable belief that education was the only escape route from poverty and violence. She drilled that belief into Diana and her 2 younger brothers. Education, focus, discipline, excellence. Diana wasn't just a good student, she was exceptional. She graduated as valedictorian of Compton High School with a perfect 1,600 SAT score. She chose Stanford University with a full scholarship, graduating summa cum laude with a 3.97 GPA in political science and African American studies. She was accepted to every law school she applied to and chose Yale Law School. At Yale, Diana dominated. She was selected as an editor of the Yale Law Journal, won the Thurman Arnold Moot Court competition, and graduated in the top 3% of her class. Following graduation, she secured a clerkship with Judge Harry Person on the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, learning how to use the law as a tool for protecting the vulnerable against the powerful. After her clerkship, Diana joined the United States Attorney's Office for the Central District of California. For 5 years, she served as a federal prosecutor, specializing in cases that most prosecutors avoided, prosecuting police officers who abused their power. Diana understood from personal experience what it felt like to be powerless in the face of authority. She had grown up in a neighborhood where police brutality wasn't theoretical. Diana prosecuted 4 LAPD officers who had beaten suspects and falsified reports. All 4 were convicted. She prosecuted 2 sheriff's deputies running a protection racket. Both went to federal prison. She had a conviction rate of 90.7% in federal court. Extraordinary for the complex cases she handled. After 5 years as a federal prosecutor, Diana was recruited by the California Attorney General's office to lead their public integrity unit. She rose quickly, becoming Assistant Attorney General within 3 years, supervising a team of 23 attorneys handling California's most sensitive cases. In the past 3 years alone, she had secured convictions against 6 law enforcement officers for various civil rights violations. All 6 were serving prison sentences. Diana had also become the principal author of Assembly Bill 1506, landmark legislation requiring the California Attorney General's office to investigate all officer-involved shootings of unarmed civilians. Police unions blamed Diana personally and fought the bill hard. They lost. She had become, in the eyes of many law enforcement organizations, public enemy number 1. At 38, at ESOF, and by 38 years old, Diana was at the peak of her professional influence. Legal insiders understood she was being groomed for a judgeship, possibly the California Superior Court, and eventually the federal bench. Diana's personal life was more complicated. Her marriage to fellow attorney Marcus Chen had ended in divorce 4 years earlier. They remained friends and co-parents to their daughter Maya. Diana had primary custody, managing single motherhood while serving as one of California's top prosecutors through meticulous planning and discipline. Diana lived in a gated community in East Sacramento, an affluent neighborhood with property values reflecting its desirability. Her beautifully restored 1920s Craftsman had cost $1.2 million. The neighborhood was 78% white. Diana was one of only 3 black families in the entire gated community of 127 homes. She had experienced the subtle signs of not quite belonging, longer stares when she jogged, surprised expressions when she mentioned living there, neighborhood watch emails describing every black person as suspicious. That Friday had been particularly demanding. Diana spent the day reviewing evidence involving 3 Bakersfield police officers accused of planting drugs on suspects. By 7:00 p.m., her eyes were strained and she had a tension headache. She packed her briefcase with confidential files and headed home wearing her standard professional attire, a charcoal gray pantsuit, white silk blouse, and low-heeled pumps. The drive normally took 15 minutes. Diana arrived at her gated community entrance at 7:47 p.m. The electronic gate required a key card. Diana had used this gate hundreds of times. She pulled up, and waved her key card over the sensor, heard the beep, saw the green light, and watched the gate begin to open. Then she heard car doors slamming behind her. Heavy, urgent. She glanced in her rearview mirror. 2 police officers were approaching her car on foot, hands near their service weapons, in ready position. Their body language was aggressive, purposeful. Diana's legal mind immediately shifted gears. Something was wrong. Officers don't approach residents at their own gates unless they believe there's a problem. But what problem? She was driving her own car, entering her own neighborhood, using her own access card. Unless the suspicion was based on something else, something having nothing to do with her actions and everything to do with her appearance. Diana put her car in park, but left the engine running. She placed both hands on the steering wheel where they would be clearly visible. These were survival tactics taught by her mother. Keep hands visible, move slowly, stay calm. The taller officer reached her driver's side window. He was white, approximately 6'2", with a build suggesting significant gym time. His nameplate read, Brennan. The second officer, also white, positioned himself near the passenger side, boxing her in. His nameplate read, "Chase." Officer Brennan knocked sharply on Diana's window. She lowered it halfway, keeping her hands visible. "Ma'am, step away from the gate. This is private property." Diana processed the statement and immediately recognized its absurdity. She was a resident. This was her gate. She had just used her authorized access card. "Officer, I live here. I'm entering my own home." Diana's voice was calm, more clear, professional, the same voice she used in courtrooms. Brennan's expression didn't change. "We received a call about someone attempting to break into this residence. You need to show me identification." Diana's analytical mind processed the legal framework. A call about a break-in could justify an investigatory stop under Terry versus Ohio, but the officer would need reasonable suspicion that she specifically was involved. What reasonable suspicion did he have? She was using an electronic keycard that clearly worked. She was dressed in professional attire. She was driving a clean Lexus. "I'm holding my keycard to my own gate. I'm the Assistant Attorney General for the state of California. This is my home." She had identified herself, explained her authorized access, and provided her title, which should have immediately raised red flags that this was not a burglary suspect. Brennan's response would later be cited in federal court as evidence of retaliatory intent and discriminatory animus. "I don't care what you say you are. We're investigating a possible burglary. Put your hands where I can see them." Diana felt anger rising but suppressed it. What would help was creating a clear record and documenting the constitutional violations already occurring under California Penal Code Section 236. Unlawful detention requires reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. I'm using a key card to access my own property. That's not suspicious. That's called going home. Before you escalate this further, I suggest you verify the address on the call and understand that you're about to violate clearly established 4th and 14th Amendment law. Every second of this is being recorded on your body cam, my security system, and my doorbell camera. She gestured toward the cameras recording from multiple angles. Most officers, when told they're being recorded and about to violate constitutional law by someone citing specific penal codes, would pause, would call a supervisor, would verify information. Officer Kevin Brennan was not most officers. That decision would cost him the next 12 years of his life. "Ma'am, you need to step out of the vehicle and show me identification now." Diana felt the weight of the decision before her. She could refuse and risk violence or comply under protest and pursue legal remedies afterward. She thought about her daughter at home waiting. She thought about the statistical reality that Black Americans asserting their rights face higher rates of force. She made the calculated decision to comply while preserving her legal claims. "I'm going to step out of my vehicle. I'm doing so under protest. I want it on record that I've identified myself as Assistant Attorney General Diana Lawson, that I've demonstrated authorized access to this property, and that I've informed these officers they're conducting an unlawful detention without reasonable suspicion." Diana opened her door slowly, movements deliberate and visible. She announced she would reach into her purse for identification, then extracted her California driver's license, State Berard, and official California Department of Justice identification. The DOJ identification was impressive, featuring her photograph, full name, title as Assistant Attorney General, and the official seal. It should have immediately ended any questions about who Diana was. Brennan looked at the driver's license first. Diana Lawson, address 2487 Willow Creek Drive. The address was 20 feet from where they stood. Then Brennan examined the DOJ identification. There was a flicker of recognition, of uncertainty, but Brennan had a problem. He had already committed to this stop. already treated Diana as a suspect, already asserted his authority. In police culture, backing down feels like losing. Brennan walked to his patrol car with Diana's identification. Diana remained standing, hands visible, waiting. Officer Chase stayed nearby, watching her. Diana noticed a neighbor 3 houses down had come outside and was filming with her phone. Another camera angle, more evidence. Brennan sat in his patrol car for 6.5 minutes. Radio transcripts would later reveal exactly what happened. Brennan called dispatch to run Diana's information. Dispatch confirmed her license was valid with no warrants. Dispatch then Googled Diana's name and confirmed she was listed as Assistant Attorney General on the official website. Dispatch asked the logical question, "What's the nature of your stop, Brennan?" Responding to a burglary call. Vehicle and occupant match, general description. Dispatch, "What's the address of the burglary call?" Long pause. Dispatch pulled up the call. Address on that call is 2847 Willow Creek Drive. Brennan was at 2487 Willow Creek Drive. Wrong address, wrong house. He had stopped the wrong person at the wrong location. Dispatch essentially told Brennan he had screwed up and needed to end this stop immediately. Brennan didn't respond. He got out and walked back to Diana. Diana could read body language. She knew what defensive posture looked like. Brennan was exhibiting all the signs of someone about to make a bad situation worse. "Ma'am, I'm going to need to search your vehicle." Diana's eyes narrowed. "On what legal basis? I have reasonable suspicion that your vehicle may contain evidence related to the burglary investigation. You've verified that the burglary call was for a different address. You've confirmed I live at this address. You've confirmed my identity as Assistant Attorney General. What specific articulable facts give you reasonable suspicion to search my vehicle?" "You were acting nervously when we approached. Being justifiably concerned when 2 armed police officers approach me aggressively is not reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. An Illinois v. Wawadilo establishes that nervousness alone is insufficient." "What else?" "Your vehicle matches the general description from the call." "What was the description?" "Dark, cold sedan." Diana gestured to her silver Lexus. "My vehicle is silver. That's not dark, and there are tens of thousands of sedans in Sacramento. General vehicle description without additional specific factors doesn't constitute reasonable suspicion. Try again, Officer Brennan." Brennan was trapped in his own logic. Every answer he gave Diana dismantled with case law. "You're being uncooperative. That elevates my suspicion. I've answered every question. I've provided identification. I've remained calm and compliant. Asserting my constitutional rights is not uncooperative behavior, and it cannot be used as justification for reasonable suspicion." Florida versus Aostic. Ohio versus Robinette. Do you need me to cite more case law, or would you like to call your supervisor? Officer Chase finally spoke. "Marcus, maybe we should. We're handling this." Brennan cut him off. Diana saw the pattern. Brennan had committed to this stop. He was in a hole, and instead of stopping, he was digging deeper. Diana had seen this before in officers she'd prosecuted. Pride, ego, the inability to admit a mistake. "Officer Brennan, you have made a series of errors tonight. You responded to a call at one address and stopped someone at a different address. You saw a black woman entering a gated community and assumed she was a criminal. You ignored electronic keycard access demonstrating authorization. You continued detention after verifying my identity and residence. You demanded to search my vehicle without probable cause. Or every moment you continue this, you're compounding the violation. I'm giving you an opportunity to end this, return my identification, and leave. If you continue, I will ensure you face both civil and criminal consequences." It was a clear warning from someone who prosecuted these cases for a living. A final off-ramp before the situation became irreversible. Kevin Brennan made his choice. "Ma'am, turn around and place your hands behind your back. You're under arrest. Diana had prosecuted scenarios exactly like this. Officers arresting people not because they had committed crimes, but because they had asserted their rights. Under arrest for what offense? Obstruction of justice and resisting a peace officer. Diana looked directly at Brennan's body camera. I have not obstructed any investigation. I have answered your questions. It provided identification and remained stationary with hands visible. Obstruction requires affirmative interference. I have done nothing meeting that definition. I have not resisted arrest because there has been no lawful arrest to resist. This arrest is retaliatory and violates 18 United States Code, Section 242, deprivation of rights under color of law. She cited the federal criminal statute prosecutors used to charge officers who violated civil rights. Last warning, turn around and put your hands behind your back. Diana looked at Officer Chase, who had gone pale. She looked at the neighbor, still filming, then back at Brennan. I am complying under protest and duress. I am Assistant Attorney General Diana Lawson. I am being unlawfully arrested without probable cause at my own residence after demonstrating authorized access and providing valid identification. This arrest is retaliatory and will form the basis of federal criminal charges against both officers present. Diana turned around and placed her hands behind her back. The metallic click of handcuffs was captured by 4 different cameras. A sitting Assistant Attorney General being arrested at her own front gate for the crime of coming home while black. Diana was placed in the patrol car. The back smelled like industrial cleaner and accumulated sweat. The neighbor who had been filming called out, "I recorded everything. This is wrong." Brennan ignored her and got in the front seat. Diana broke the silence. "Officer Brennan, I'm giving you one final opportunity to correct this mistake. You release me now, and this will result only in a complaint and internal investigation. Continue to the station, and this becomes a federal criminal case. Your choice." Brennan started the car. The drive to Sacramento Police Department's main station took 14 minutes. Diana sat in the back, her mind already constructing the legal framework. Federal civil rights lawsuit, criminal referral to the FBI, potential charges under 18 U.S.C. per 242. When they arrived at 8:18 p.m., the booking sergeant on duty was Teresa Martinez, a 19-year veteran who had developed an instinct for problematic arrests. This arrest set off every alarm she had. Martinez saw a black woman in expensive professional attire, perfectly groomed, calm and composed in handcuffs. No visible signs of struggle, no indication of resistance. What's the charge? Obstruction of justice and resisting a peace officer, Brennan said. Where did the arrest occur? 2487 Willow Creek Drive. What was the address of the burglary call? Brennan hesitated. That told Martinez everything. Officer Brennan, what address did the burglary call come in for? 2847 Willow Creek Drive. Before Brennan could continue, Diana spoke. Sergeant Martinez, my name is Diana Lawson. I'm the Assistant Attorney General for the State of California Criminal Division. I run the Public Integrity Unit. These officers responded to a burglary call at a different address, saw me entering my own home with my electronic key card, detained me without reasonable suspicion, and arrested me when I informed them of their constitutional violations. I suggest you verify my identity immediately and contact your watch commander. Martinez stood so fast her chair hit the wall. You arrested the Assistant Attorney General. The booking area went quiet. Martinez examined Diana's Department of Justice YD, then Googled her name. The search results populated immediately. Diana's official bio, photos from press conferences, news articles about cases she'd won. Martinez looked at Brennan with fury and disbelief. How long has she been in custody? Approximately 40 minutes. Martinez called Commander Perry immediately. He arrived 3 minutes later. When Martinez briefed him, his expression transformed from concerned to horrified to furious. Assistant Attorney General Lawson, on behalf of the Sacramento Police Department, I want to express my deepest apologies. This should never have happened. Diana's response was immediate. Remove the arrest from your system. Then I want a complete incident report from both officers, computer-aided dispatch records, all body camera footage and radio transcripts delivered to my office by Monday morning. I want internal affairs and the chief of police notified tonight, and I want both officers suspended pending investigation. Brennan tried to speak. Diana cut him off with a look. You responded to a call at one address and detained someone at a different address. You saw a black woman entering a gated community and assumed she was a criminal. You ignored electronic key card access demonstrating authorization. You continued detention after verifying my identity and residence. You demanded to search my vehicle without probable cause. And when I informed you of your constitutional violations, you arrested me in retaliation. I have prosecuted 6 police officers in the past 3 years. All 6 are in prison. You are about to become number 7 and 8. Diana was driven home by a sergeant at 9:24 p.m. When she walked through her door, Maya was still awake, worried. Diana hugged her daughter, paid the babysitter triple the usual rate, and waited until Maya was safely in bed before allowing herself to process what had happened. She sat for 10 minutes, hands shaking now that adrenaline was wearing off. She was the Assistant Attorney General of California. She had dedicated her career to fighting injustice, and she had been handcuffed at her own gate by officers who saw her race before her credentials. Then Diana did what she had trained her entire professional life to do. She documented everything, creating a minute-by-minute timeline while details were fresh. Then she started making calls, first to Attorney General Rob Bont, her boss. His response was immediate. We're filing everything. Civil lawsuit, criminal referral, the full weight of this office. Second to the FBI's Civil Rights Division, formally requesting a federal investigation. Third to her ex-husband, Marcus Chen, one of the top civil rights attorneys in California. Marcus, I need you to sue the Sacramento PD. By Saturday morning, the story had leaked to the press. A Sacramento Bee reporter broke it first. California Assistant AG arrested at own home alleges racial profiling. The story exploded across California media, then went national within hours. The body cam footage was released Monday morning, all 51 minutes from 4 camera angles. The footage went viral immediately. 12 million views within 24 hours. Over 40 million within a week. Legal commentators analyzed every frame. Constitutional law professors used it in classes. Civil rights organizations distributed it as educational material. A Harvard law professor on CNN said, "This is a perfect example of racial profiling. If this can happen to someone with her credentials and power, imagine what happens every day to people without those resources." The FBI Civil Rights Division opened a formal investigation Tuesday, not just into the loss and arrest, but into whether there was a pattern and practice of civil rights violations across the entire Sacramento Police Department. FBI agents spent 9 months conducting one of the most thorough investigations into a police department in California history. They analyzed every arrest record from the past 8 years, reviewed thousands of body camera videos, pulled radio transcripts, and interviewed hundreds of community members. The FBI's final report in July 2023 was 203 pages and detailed systematic civil rights violations spanning more than a decade. Black residents in Sacramento were stopped at rates 3.2 times higher than white residents. Black motorists were searched at rates 4.1 times higher, despite being significantly less likely to be found with contraband. The report documented 47 cases over 8 years, where black professionals had been detained or arrested near their own homes under circumstances similar to Diana's arrest. In 41 cases, charges had been dismissed. In 38 cases, complaints had been filed. In 37 cases, Internal Affairs had dismissed the complaints as unfounded. The pattern was undeniable and systematic. Officer Kevin Brennan had been with Sacramento PD for 11 years. His arrest statistics showed he had arrested black individuals at a rate 4.7 times higher than white individuals, significantly higher than even the department's problematic average. He had been the subject of 7 complaints of racial profiling. All 7 had been investigated by Internal Affairs. All 7 had been dismissed as unfounded. Nobody had ever analyzed Brennan's arrest statistics to see if complaints reflected a pattern. In March 2023, 5 months after Diana's arrest, a federal grand jury handed down indictments against both officers for deprivation of rights under color of law, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and other charges. Both men were arrested by FBI agents at their homes on March 15, 2023. The federal trial began in August 2023. Diana testified for 2 full days, walking the jury through every moment with precision and clarity. She explained the constitutional violations in language ordinary jurors could understand. She described what it felt like to be handcuffed at her own gate. The prosecution showed the jury Brennan's arrest statistics, the pattern of complaints, and body cam footage from other arrests where Brennan had targeted black professionals. Statistical experts explained that racial disparities in Brennan's arrests couldn't be explained by chance. The probability was less than 0 West Dorsini's %. When the complete 51-minute body cam footage of Diana's arrest played, several jurors were visibly angry. The prosecution's closing argument was devastating. Kevin Brennan didn't arrest Diana Lawson because he thought she was a burglar. He arrested her because she had the audacity to tell him he was violating her rights, because she refused to be intimidated and he thought he could get away with it, just like he'd gotten away with it 7 times before. But this time, he arrested the wrong person. The jury deliberated for 11 hours over 3 days. On August 24, 2023, they returned guilty verdicts on all counts for both officers. The sentencing hearing took place October 30, 2023, almost exactly 1 year after Diana's arrest. Federal Judge Patricia Morrison delivered sentences that shocked law enforcement across California. Mr. Brennan, you had numerous opportunities to correct your mistake. Each opportunity was an off-ramp. You chose to accelerate instead. You chose your pride over your oath. You chose retaliation over justice. Your pattern of conduct shows this wasn't an isolated incident. It was who you are as an officer. The sentence of this court is 12 years in federal prison. The courtroom gasped. 12 years was extraordinarily long for a civil rights violation case. Mr. Chase, your culpability is less, but your silence enabled his misconduct. You stood by and watched constitutional violations occur. The sentence of this court is 4 years in federal prison. Both men were remanded into custody immediately. Diana's civil lawsuit had been filed 3 months after her arrest. The complaint was 57 pages, with 142 footnotes citing relevant case law, alleging unlawful stop, false arrest, retaliatory arrest, racial profiling, and violation of 4th and 14th Amendment rights. The city's attorneys reviewed the case and concluded it was indefensible. Settlement negotiations resulted in $2.3 million, the largest settlement in Sacramento's history for police misconduct. But the settlement included more than money. The Sacramento Police Department would implement comprehensive reforms, mandatory constitutional policing training, independent civilian monitoring, automatic termination for falsified reports, civilian review board with subpoena power, quarterly analysis of arrest data by race with public reporting, and federal monitoring for 5 years. The settlement was announced in April 2024. Diana stood at the podium. This settlement represents accountability, but money alone doesn't fix broken systems. What matters is the institutional change, the independent monitoring, the data analysis, the civilian oversight. These reforms will protect people who don't have my resources. Diana donated $1 million to organizations fighting police misconduct, $500,000, to establish a legal defense fund for civil rights cases, with the remainder supporting her family and Mia's education. The fallout extended far beyond individual officers. Sacramento Police Chief Daniel Hahn resigned in May 2024. 2 deputy chiefs also resigned or were forced out. 6 watch commanders and supervisors were demoted or fired. The narcotics unit where Brennan had worked was disbanded entirely. The body cam footage became one of the most watched pieces of evidence in police training and legal education, now shown in police mice in 43 states as an example of what not to do. Diana Lawson continued her work as Assistant Attorney General. The experience strengthened her commitment to fighting corruption. In the 2 years since her arrest, she has prosecuted 14 additional police officers. Her conviction rate remains above 90%. She still lives in the same house, drives through the same gate, drives the same Lexus, but now patrol cars give her space. Officers who work in Sacramento know the story. The case has become a cautionary tale. This is what happens when bias overrides common sense. Officers Kevin Brennan and Tyler Chase are currently serving their sentences in federal prison. Brennan will be eligible for release in 2035. Chase in 2027. Their law enforcement careers are over. Pensions forfeited, reputations destroyed. The city of Sacramento has paid out an additional $4.7 million in settlements to other victims of Brennan's misconduct. And 3 other officers showing similar patterns have been fired or resigned. This story matters because Diana Lawson had every possible advantage. She was Assistant Attorney General of California. She had prosecuted 127 felony cases. She knew constitutional law as well as any judge. She had the resources to fight back, and she still got handcuffed at her own front gate for being black in a neighborhood where someone thought she didn't belong. The case shows that racial profiling reaches the highest levels of professional achievement. The bias doesn't care about credentials or position, but it also shows that accountability is possible when people refuse to accept injustice, that officers can go to prison, that departments can be forced to reform. Not every wrongful arrest ends with 12-year prison sentences, but this one did. And that sends a powerful message. Constitutional violations carry consequences. Thanks for watching this story all the way through. If it changed how you think about police accountability and the depth of racial bias in American policing, share it with someone who needs to understand these realities. Make sure you're subscribed because we're bringing you more stories that expose injustice and prove that accountability is possible when people fight for it. Final question. Do you think 12 years was enough for Officer Brennan? What would true accountability look like in your community? How do we fix systems that have been broken for decades? Drop your answers in the comments. Let's keep this conversation going. See you in the next one.
Thank you for watching today's video. If our findings brought you a new outlook, please like, share, and subscribe to Justice Insight Cam. Stay updated, stay secure, and we will return soon with another comprehensive report.